Okay, guys, this is Mr. G. In today's video, it's a little bit of a lecture. It's continuing on the notes that you guys have taken for on Friday over atomic structure and subatomic particles. And today, we're going to be continuing with something called a Bohr model. A Bohr model is essentially a representation of protons, neutrons, and electrons in a specific model developed by Niels Bohr. It's actually spelled B-O-H-R. It's a Bohr model, okay? And it's basically the idea that electrons can fit into what we call electron shells or energy shells. And so we have these three questions that we're trying to answer based off of this formula that's given to us, this 2n to the second power, or I can also write it 2n to the second power. And so we're trying to figure out how many electrons can fit into each energy shell. So question number one says, using the formula, fill in how many electrons fit in the first energy shell. So the first energy shell would be 1, the first energy shell. So I would do 2 times 1 to the second power, and that is going to be equal to 2. 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. So on my first energy level, I can fit 2 electrons. So I just put 2 dots on the first energy shell or ring. The second question is asking us, using the formula, fill in how many energy or how many electrons can fit in the second shell. So once again, I'm going to use the same formula. 2 times 2 squared is equal to 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8. So I know that I can fit 8 electrons in the second energy level. Okay, you can see I left the first one blank because it can only fit 2. The second one can fit 8. And then the third one, same process. I'm going to take 2 times 3 squared, and I'm going to set that equal, and I get an answer of 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18. Now, I tried my best, and you should too when you draw these, to be able to spread out the electrons, those red dots that I have on my shells, as far as you can. That way it doesn't get confusing and you don't lose count. And now we're actually going to try to draw them with some real atoms, okay? So we're going to kind of almost copy the way that these ones above are, okay? So let's do silicone together. So I have my nucleus, and I'm going to zoom in on my nucleus because it tells us in this that we have 14 protons and 14 neutrons. Remember, those things are found in the nucleus. So protons equals 14, neutrons equals 14. So that's my nucleus. I don't really have to draw the pluses and all that like in Friday's notes. So let's do 14 electrons. So I have to represent 14 electrons. Remember, from our math above, this is our first energy level. How many electrons can fit in the first energy level? Well, I can fit 2. There's 1 and 2. So if I take my 14 original electrons and I subtract the 2 that I just used, I now have 12 electrons left. So I'm going to draw my second energy level. The second energy level, remember from our math above, can only hold how many? Yep, that's right. It can only hold 8. So now I've used 8 more, so I'm going to subtract an additional 8 electrons to get 4 remaining. Our third energy level can hold up to 18, but remember, we don't need 18. We only have 4 left. So I'm going to draw all 4 in the third energy level. And this is a Bohr model for silicone. Final product right there. Okay, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Okay, next one is chlorine. Same thing. Draw my nucleus. Zoom way in. 17 protons, 18 neutrons. So protons, 17. Neutrons, 18. Zoom back out. I'm dealing with 17 total electrons. So I'm going to draw my first energy level. Remember, the first one can only hold 8. The second one, 17 electrons. Sorry, I'm going to do my math just so I keep track and I'm showing you. I have 15 electrons left. The second one can hold 8. So I subtract 8 electrons from the 15 I have left, then I'm left with 5, 6, 7 electrons left. Remember, the third energy level can hold up to 18, but it just so happens that I only have 7 left. So I draw my 7, and I've used all 18. So this is a Bohr diagram for chlorine. Now, guys, when you're drawing these and doing the practice today, remember, you don't necessarily have to use all 3 levels. You may only need 2 different energy levels, depending on how many electrons you're trying to represent. But remember, these are Bohr models, Bohr diagrams, whatever you want to call them. And so I hope that helps today.